So we got a fair amount of progress being made with the knee on the column now, and moving with really good geometry. I got to get prepping ahead now. So this is the table. Got it up on a cart right now, and it's a little rough. There's some oopses here and there, but plan is, with the new surface plate, plan is to scrape this rather than sending it out for grind. So what I'm gonna do now, I had previously cleaned it up in some degreaser and stuff, and then I painted this bottom. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take some Scotch-Brite and get some oil on this thing, get it cleaned up, and then we'll start prepping for, parallelism. Where are we at with the ways, and starting to work on the geometry. So this is the top of the table, and like I said, there's some definite signs of use here. Looks like some have been filled at some point, but for me it isn't really going to matter that much. I'm going to take everything that I can on the surface plate and make it all straight. So, time to start cleaning. I just cleaned up about half of this thing, and as you can see, if this Bridgeport were able to tell a story, it'd be a pretty good one. Combination of oopses and I don't cares and who knows what else. I'm gonna scrape this surface because I only want to take just enough to get it cleaned, and then what I'll probably do is I might DevCon these or put something in them. Some of these are pretty big divots, but just in the process of getting it cleaned up, and then I'm going to stone it, get rid of some really high spots, and then file and stuff like that, just to prep it for the surface plate. So I'm just working on the this would be the back side of the table. I've got the top of the table cleaned up at this point, and you can see through use or abuse or some combination, you can see how this edge, I hope it shows up on the camera here, you can see that shiny spot right there. That edge is kind of rolled from stuff hitting the top of the table here. So now that I've got it cleaned up, I'm just gonna run a file across here and then start stoning this, just to get rid of the high spots, so that as I start to blue, those aren't skewing my readings. And you can see this is the bottom of the table. This would be the way that rides on top of the saddle. It's actually just a mill finish, and I guess Bridgeport, that was one of the finishes. I was assuming that I was expecting that to be scraped and flaked, or at least ground, but it's not. I've got one side here of the table, and I think you can see it right through there, where I've just done just the smallest amount of filing that I needed to get rid of that high spot from the top of the table being struck. So this side's looking pretty good. I'm not sure if it shows up this bottom side of this yeah, there you can, I think you can see it there now. The bottom side of this way was either freshly milled or never actually scraped from Bridgeport. Like I said, I had heard that was standard, and that you know, they were only supposed to be within 1 thou or 2 thou tolerances. So anyways, we're going to end up scraping that. One of the other things I'm finding is I was just checking the T-slot here, and originally this one here wouldn't come through past about, I'm way out of the frame here, but way past probably halfway point. So I just doing a little bit of filing down at the bottom edge, the bottom of the T-slot, so it's still sticking in around here. There we go. So now what I'm doing is just taking another large file here. This is a, I don't know, that thing's, for sure it's a 12. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just kind of filing across, almost like a draw file, just to hit high spots. And again, I don't want to put this surface down onto the surface plate and have, you know, something sticking up high here. And it's best if this is, you know, fairly flat without anything sticking up that's going to damage the surface plate. So I'm just kind of walking through the whole surface here, trying to make sure I get any of the high spots off. It's actually not too bad. Once we get a whole table all cleaned up, we'll do some measuring to make sure where everything's at before we start scraping as well. One of the other things I'm using is a big stone. I think it's probably originally from a Blanchard grinder or something like that. Pretty big diameter. That's got to be a 2 or 3 foot diameter. There's a little high spot right there. You see how it's shining through there. I'm going to try and knock that down with a file. As you can see, it's pretty rough, but I'm hoping with some time and energy and surface plate and a scraper, it's going to look like $1,000,000. This is the Connolly Machine Tool Reconditioning book, and one of the things that it calls out for the table, it calls out for the objectives for the front surface, which is the second surface you work on. The first surface is actually the top of the table, and the second surface is the front. And it is designed, the tests are designed to be square with the tabletop, to be parallel with the axes of the center T-slot. And it shows a picture of how to check the T-slots are perpendicular. And then this would be for testing the front surface of the table to the center T-slot. So where I'm at right now is with the top of the table being banged up. I hope it shows up. Yeah, you can see it here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to file the T-slot just until I clean it up. I don't want to make it any wider, so I'm just taking off displaced metal and trying to straighten up the center T-slot, because I need to use it as a datum for the front surface of the table. I've just got it up on a little bit of an angle here so I can get a good light reflection down inside of there, and I'm just trying to take care of each side of that center T-slot at this point.